With the end of Boruto Part 1 finally here in the Boruto time skip officially only being a few weeks away, I want to discuss with you guys just how strong Mitsuki is by the end of Boruto Part 1. And the truth is that Mitsuki in a very quiet manner has creeped up the power rankings despite clearly being left behind by Boruto and Kawaki, as each of them began to tap into more of the power of their Karma Seal and began progressing at speeds that are just flat out unnatural for normal humans. However, it's because of how quickly they progress that Mitsuki's own progression as a shinobi can be overlooked, and often does get overlooked by fans of the series, which is why in today's video we're going to be answering the question of how strong Mitsuki is by the end of Boruto Part 1. And spoiler, he's actually a lot stronger than you think. So jumping right into it, Mitsuki more than lives up to the expectations of what you expect from a child of Orochimaru, or to be technical, a clone of Orochimaru. While he's merely a Genin, Mitsuki has shown as early as far back as his literal introduction in manga format that he was a problem to be reckoned with. Back when the Naruto series creator Masashi Kishimoto drew the Mitsuki one-shot chapter in 2016 detailing the origins of Mitsuki's character, we saw that Mitsuki was going to be a standout amongst the members of his generation because Mitsuki in that manga chapter showcased the ability to tap into Sage transformation, being able to activate it on the spot, and speed blitzing Orochimaru and Log, with the former being significantly stronger than he was during the battle with the third Hokage. This version of Orochimaru in the Boruto era has gained the chakra absorbed from Kabuto in the 4th Ninja War, by extension all the Kekkei Genkai of the Sound 4 that Kabuto possessed, an entire body of Hashirama cells that significantly boost his chakra by taking Zetsu's body, something confirmed by Tobirama and Hashirama, and getting the jutsu out of the Reaper Death God, and then training off and on for 14 years between Naruto chapter 699 and chapter 700. The reason for the importance of this is going to depend on how seriously you take Orochimaru's statement in that one-shot Kishimoto drew, where Orochimaru literally tells Mitsuki that he has the power within him that is stronger than Orochimaru, which with the reference obviously being Mitsuki's Sage powers. Some people have said that this is clearly in reference to Mitsuki's power once he's able to fully utilize Sage powers without any drawbacks of his body breaking down, despite the fact that at the time we didn't know that information, and Orochimaru isn't really making that clarification. He merely said that within Mitsuki he possesses more power than he does, and it's right before Mitsuki uses Sage power and blitzes Orochimaru. However, taking that aside, just looking at Mitsuki in his base form alone, he's actually pretty cracked. In the Boruto Academy arc, it did a really good job of showing that Mitsuki and Boruto, they were somewhat relative to each other. You could argue Mitsuki was actually stronger than Boruto, with Academy student Boruto being stated by Kakashi to have the power of a Chunin already, but Mitsuki we know for a fact was holding back continuously during the events of the Academy arc, just for the fact that we don't see him using any of his Sage powers, and the one time he does actually flip the aura, he's fighting against Shino, and we don't have any evidence that he used the full Sage power when he fought against Shino. During the time that we did see Mitsuki, we got more evidence of him already being in that Chunin tier with Boruto just off what we've seen from Mitsuki's fights. We see him skillfully using change in chakra nature in the battle against Sumire, and again multiple times against people like the new generation 7 Ninja Swordsman of the Hidden Mist Village. Possessing a change in chakra nature for the most part according to Naruto's manga is something you more so associate with Chunin, which is why Kakashi was shocked when Sasuke uses a fire style jutsu during the bell test, because that was too advanced for Genin. However, as Kakashi states during Naruto chapter 316, possessing 2 changes in chakra nature is something that is expected only of a Jonin, which is why Mitsuki possessing 2 changes in chakra nature is so insane, because he joined Sasuke on that very short list of shinobi in that particular age range that have multiple changes in chakra nature. And for Sasuke, you could argue Mitsuki is more impressive, just given the fact that Sasuke as an Uchiha already has an extremely strong aptitude for fire release, but just like Sasuke, who Kakashi tells us mastered lightning release very quickly, Mitsuki is implied to have gained his chakra natures rather easily, just from how casually he's using the jutsu at different points during the Academy arc. During this time, we see that Mitsuki is continuously holding back whenever he's fighting, likely at the orders of Orochimaru not to draw attention to himself, and we see this early on when Mitsuki, while restraining himself, is able to drag Shino underwater while carefully expelling lightning release with a steady flow to make sure not to kill him while Shino was underwater, and Mitsuki was able to beat Shino into a submission, and this was early on in the Academy. Though, if you want to, you can say that Shino was nerfed due to the new age seal placed onto him. You can feel free to debate that. However, when Shino fights Mitsuki during the Academy graduation, we see Mitsuki easily blowing away away Shino's bugs with his wind and lightning release, with Shino telling Mitsuki he's about to start fighting in a more serious manner. And by the time the fight ends, we see Mitsuki victorious over Shino. Though again, Mitsuki acknowledges that Shino didn't fight him with killing intent, and that's something that Shino himself admits, saying that he can't exactly use killing jutsu on a student. But even so, we still see that Mitsuki did a considerable amount of damage to a somewhat serious Shino in battle, which is absolutely impressive given how strong Shino is. What we see there is enough to justify putting Mitsuki in that same class that Kakashi stated about Boruto, with Boruto already being well above gaining level and easily above Chunin. However, it's worth noting that Mitsuki, just off of that fact, is able to go into Sage mode, is already cracked from the perspective of chakra levels, because Naruto's manga tells us that Sage mode literally requires an enormous amount of chakra in order to use. We see further evidence of Mitsuki easily being in that Chunin class of power by the battle with Mirai Sarutobi, an elite Chunin who both Kakashi and Shikamaru have stated she's got the makings to be the biggest talent coming out the Sarutobi clan since the days of the third Hokage. Mitsuki more than held his own in a support role against Mirai and played a key role in Team 7 taking her down. If we stick to the assumption that Mitsuki was still somewhat relative to base Boruto and Sarada, which I don't think that that's a stretch, then we can include the statements from the Boruto movie novelization where it's directly stated that Boruto and Sarada have already hit a Jonin level in terms of striking power and skill. Mitsuki would already be at that Jonin level in terms of combat power by the events of the versus Momoshiki arc, which it doesn't seem like that much of a stretch. And we see further evidence of the fact that Mitsuki is continuously holding back, just given the fact that when he's battling against Gaara's son, Mitsuki does not use his full power. He uses the full amount of power in his base, but even Gaara's son was able to look at it and realize that Mitsuki had another gear in him. And there's a strong argument that can be made that Mitsuki would have defeated him had he used Sage transformation. However, for further significance, we have to look at just how strong base Mitsuki would be just going off of that Jonin statement. So that will put him above the Sound 4 using their Curse Mark Stage 2, because it's worth noting those Sound 4 in that Curse Mark Stage 2 with that 10 times multiplier, they struggled against two special Jonin who were exhausted after completing a mission, and the Sound 4 barely defeated those special Jonin despite the fact they had the numbers advantage and special Jonin are weaker than standard Jonin. That's pretty cracked when you think of just how strong the Sound 4 actually were. But Mitsuki by the first arc of Boruto's manga is already stronger than the antagonist we had at the final arc of Naruto Part 1. I've seen people point out that he can restrain someone as strong as Shojoji, but considering Shojoji is focused on Boruto during the Mujina Bandits arc, that's more akin to being an off-guard feat, so it doesn't really hold any weight. However, what does hold weight is that Mitsuki was shown holding his own against Ao during the Vessel arc, with Ao being an elite shinobi from the Hidden Mist Village, capable of taking down the number 3 man in Danzo's root organization, Sai Superior, which it should be noted for reference, Sai in early Naruto Part 2 was directly stated by Danzo, a reliable source of intel for Konoha Shinobi, to be stronger than the other members of the Konoha 11 except for Naruto. And it's worth noting that base Naruto during the Tenchi Bridge arc looked like he was having a little bit of trouble with Sai during the brief skirmish, with Sai smiling in Naruto's face while Naruto's putting in effort in their first encounter with that kunai attack. And it is worth noting neither base Naruto or Sai were weak during that time. You could put both of those characters, base Naruto and Sai, at that point in time already in a Jonin level of power during that point in the story. Ao being stronger than Sai Superior and being regarded as an elite Miss Jonin is pretty important because he got his body modified by Amado's ninja tech, which we know makes people physically stronger than before. It's another measurement to Mitsuki's power because we literally see Mitsuki holding his own against Ao and pressuring him and putting him on the defensive in the manga when he attacked Ao by using Kakashi's Purple Lightning Jutsu, which it should be worth noting mastering Purple Lightning is a pretty big deal just given how hard Kakashi had to train to create the jutsu, needing just over a year to complete it and needing several years to refine it, though it is worth noting that it's easier to learn a jutsu than it is to make it from scratch. That being said, we see more signs of how strong Mitsuki has gotten that show that he is in his base, at least at the bare minimum, already in that elite Jonin class by this point in time. But the Ao fight is a really good indicator of this because of just the amp that the ninja tools that Kar gives people, from the ones that use enhanced Hashirama cells like you see with the Kar inners to the mechanical enhancements that we see the outers like Garo and Ao actually use. During the battle against Deepa, a Kar inner, Mitsuki, when he went into his Sage mode and episode 166, was able to use his full power to bring Deepa down to his knees, something that previously hadn't been seen as being possible. Even with Konohamaru using a high-level fire release and Boruto using a Rasengan, the pinnacle of changing chakra form, against Deepa and hitting him at point-blank range, Deepa tanked the attack and started laughing at Boruto. By the time of their rematch in episode 175, we see Mitsuki doing significantly better in base against Deepa as he fought alongside the members of Team 7, and it was his Sage Transformation Chakra that gave Boruto the edge in that battle against Deepa when Mitsuki's Sage Chakra joined Sarada to give Boruto more reinforcement for the Super Compression Rasengan that ultimately took down Deepa. However, the rest of Mitsuki's growth starts to get left behind once Kawaki's introduced in the story, and Kawaki's already being scaled while fatigued at being at a S-class level of power, which S-class in the Boruto era is a Kage level of power, and we see the unnatural growth that Boruto and Kawaki proceed to undergo as time is going on. It frustrates Sarada in the anime when she sees Boruto's thunderclap arrow force Naruto to use a shadow clone to tank it, and in the manga, both Mitsuki and Sarada vow to grow stronger so they can be of more assistance to Boruto in the future after they learned that quote Code killed Boruto, because they don't know it was actually Kawaki, and both of them are vowing to not be liabilities in the future. However, that doesn't make Mitsuki weak. It just speaks volumes to what the Karma Seal does for someone like Boruto, who Mitsuki was keeping pace with before the Karma Seal just blew Boruto up several tiers in power. Even in the battle against Boro, who albeit was toying around with the members of Team 7 throughout the entirety of the fight, something that I don't see people bring up enough. There's a lot of disingenuous scaling when it comes to Team 7 versus Boro. We see that Mitsuki was skilled enough to set up combination attacks in a multi-step plan in order to get his snakes to get Boro's blood, and he was quick-witted enough to make antibodies to Team 7, showing that even when faced with someone much stronger than himself, Mitsuki possessed more than enough intelligence to be able to hold his own in battle. However, when Boro finally stopped playing around with Team 7 and he stops restraining himself and goes on that rampage using his full power after his Ninja Tech core is destroyed, we see the difference in power with Boro and all the members of Team 7, with Boro being able to one-shot all the members of Team 7 with one hit, and it was made pretty clear that had Momoshiki not taken over Boruto's body, all the members of Team 7 except for Kawaki and Boruto would have been dead. I've seen people say that Mitsuki has fallen pretty far below Boruto just because a fatigued Boruto was dodging a bloodlusted Sage Mode Mitsuki's attacks, but it's worth noting this Boruto right now, even when fatigued, is now 100% Otsutsuki, and he did have Momoshiki basically telling him which direction and how to dodge the attacks while Mitsuki was lobbing them at him. Between that and the clear boost in power that Karma has given, not only when Boruto uses Karma, but also the boost that the Karma Seal appears to give his base just from the Karma extracting Otsutsuki DNA into Boruto's body, I don't think we can really say that this is something you can use as a knock against Mitsuki. It just shows how far ahead the scaling jumped once Karma got introduced, and it just shows how much harder characters like Mitsuki are going to have to train in order to catch up. Which, in closing, I'll say this: Mitsuki in base being in that funky spot where he's stronger than your standard Jonin, stronger than your elite Jonin, potentially even in that Kage tier, that entry point for Kage level, but being below a freaking Karma Seal is not an insult to power. If anything, that speaks volumes, because we're not even factoring in the ability to use Sage Mode. It speaks volumes to how cracked he's going to be once he's able to fully use that power without any drawbacks. But if you want to know how strong Mitsuki and the other members of Team 7 should be coming out of the Boruto time skip, I got a really in-depth video coming with my buddy King Bullet that is going to go over in detail how strong we should realistically expect Team 7 to be coming out the Boruto time skip, so keep your eyes open for that video.